Right, let's go to China now. For the first time in nearly 3 years, it has lifted quarantine rules for people arriving from abroad. It's the final step in the government's dismantling of its zero COVID policies. The abrupt change has driven a rapid rise in coronavirus cases and has prompted other countries to impose restrictions on Chinese tourists. Tens of thousands of people gathered at border crossings between Hong Kong and the mainland on Sunday to take advantage of the latest relaxation. Well, speaking a short while ago, China's National Health Commission spokesperson said that the relaxing of these measures doesn't mean the country is relaxing its approach to the disease.
Starting from today, we categorize and manage COVID as a Class B infectious disease. Our focus has pivoted from preventing infection to protecting health and preventing severe cases. Downgrading COVID doesn't mean letting it rip. Rather, we are more scientific, targeted, and efficient in our response. We can do better in coordinating pandemic response and socio-economic development.
Well, it's a huge development there in China. Tens of thousands of people gathered at border crossings between Hong Kong and the mainland on Sunday to take advantage of the relaxation, as I mentioned. And let's listen now to what some of them had to say.
I'm so happy, so excited. I haven't seen my parents for many years. My parents aren't in good health, and I couldn't go back to see them even when they were ill. So I'm really happy to go back and see them now.
I can't wait to go back to the mainland. It's been 3 years. We have no time to delay. Now the border is unimpeded.
Last time I came to Hong Kong, I had to wait for 2 weeks. In the end, I had no choice but to go back to Turkey because I couldn't enter China.
And the BBC's Martin Yip has been monitoring movement on the border between Hong Kong and mainland China. And he told us there are still certain conditions for travellers entering mainland China.
They still have to produce a valid test result, PCR test with a negative result over the past 48 hours before they could step over that little bridge going into that ferry terminal, go through immigration and then get onto the shuttle buses. And then I just saw a couple hauling a few suitcases, like 5 or 6 suitcases between them. I ended up waiting outside because they say the test results are yet to arrive on their phones. So there's still restrictions here. But like you said, it's like a big open day today, not just opening up China's border in the sense of you don't need to be quarantined anymore. And you would not be tested as you arrive. You just need to produce the test result I've just mentioned before you reach any checkpoints here and go over. Although for Hong Kong and Macau, there's still some sort of restrictions on top of that, which is a quota system. Each way, that some 50,000 people would be allowed to cross the border from today, each day. So 50,000 up, 50,000 down. Today doesn't seem to be a day that all the quotas have been used up. It's rather busy here, but not that busy as yet comparing to what used to be in 2019 before the pandemic. But that's somehow a start.
Thanks to Martin for that update there. Well, let's speak now to Keith Bradshaw, Beijing Bureau Chief for the New York Times. Thanks so much for coming on the programme.
Thank you.
What do you make then of how this is going, the loosening of these restrictions?
The loosening has happened very quickly with regard to domestic restrictions, but international travel is actually not starting that quickly. So while China has abandoned, effective today, the 8-day or longer quarantines for international arrivals, and originally those were 2-week quarantines or even 3-week quarantines. While it's halted the quarantines, it has not allowed a lot of international flights yet. In fact, the international flights will not start on a large scale, possibly until the start of April. So, for example, for Thailand had 400 flights a week with China before the pandemic started, and right now it's 15 flights a week. So there's a gradual restart. The first focus is on restarting domestic flights, domestic rail travel, getting people moving so that they can go home for the Lunar New Year holiday, which will begin on the weekend of January 21 and 22.
Well, I want to just pick up on that because that is often described as the biggest human migration on the planet. It's an absolutely vast movement of people. How concerned are the authorities and people in China about that?
So the focus has suddenly shifted from trying to control COVID to trying to get families together again. And there is very little discussion by the authorities on the risks that there might be in terms of people bringing the virus into villages. Many villages have mostly elderly people who've stayed behind as younger people have moved to the cities. The focus is not so much on the health effects of the Spring Festival or Lunar New Year travel, but rather there's been a lot of discussion of how they hope that villages can try to prepare for cases. But many of these villages don't have any intensive care unit beds nearby. They don't have hospitals. They have other basic clinics. And there is concern about what will happen as there's a lot of travel into these villages.
And what about criticism? Because leading up to the loosening of all these restrictions, we did see a pretty unusual, notable amount of criticism of authorities there in China. What about now?
Now the criticism seems to be in a different direction, which is why was there not more preparation of the health system so that for example, why was there not more stockpiling of ibuprofen before this opening up took place? Even doctors who fall sick themselves have trouble getting more than a half dozen tablets of ibuprofen to handle the fevers as they have COVID. Also, people are asking, why was so much energy spent on putting booths every few blocks on streets in large cities instead of expanding the clinic or intensive care unit or hospital capacity to treat the sick when the policy did eventually change?
Fascinating stuff. I'm afraid we'll leave it there. But Keith Bradshaw, thank you very much for talking us through all the implications there of the various policy changes in China. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.